Mariekie.
Thank you. Good evening, everybody. Tonight, I am super excited to share with you 3 tools I find game-changing. They are Blazing Story, Playwright, and an accessibility tools. I have personally experienced so many benefits from using these tools, and I cannot wait to share this with the world. But before we dive into the details, let's talk about me. I am a software developer at Metro North Health, but my journey into the software world is anything but conventional. You see, I've been a tech traveler for over 2 decades. Imagine me as a player upon a stage of technology, journeying from roles such as a hardware technician to a telephonic software support person and then a consultant. Finding my true calling in software development over 10 years ago. What sets my tale apart is that I am entirely self-taught. Learning through determination and passion. I've worn many hats and faced diverse challenges. Through this journey, my husband, a seasoned software engineer, has been my steadfast guide and support. As I stand before you today, I am inspired by the tech giants of the world, all of you who have paved the way for adventurers like me. And tonight I'm so excited to share my journey with you. So tonight I'll be delving into 3 topics. It's obviously Blazor Story, Playwright, and then an accessibility testing tool. I will talk a little bit about them and then dive into the implementation of it. So let's start with Act 1, which is Blazing Story. Who here has heard or has worked with Blazing Story? You don't count. Okay, then that's good. So for those who do not know, which is the rest of you, Blazing Story is a powerful tool for building UI components in isolation. It's essentially a Blazor-focused counterpart to Storybook, which is an advanced JavaScript tool that allows developers to build UI components in isolation. But what does this mean, building components in isolation? Well, we can create and work on Blazor components independent of a larger application. This picture is simulating a large application, all the blocks being different components and areas within the application. If we need to add a component, let's say that square, it looks red there, that red block over there, you can imagine it could be very challenging. Instead of building and testing within the complete application environment, we can isolate the component, design, develop, and test them in a standalone environment. So why would I want to do that? What is so beneficial of this approach? I'll tell you. We can quickly prototype and iterate on individual components without needing to set up the entire application. This leads to faster development cycles. We can establish a centralized library of components that adhere to design guidelines, ensuring we have consistency across our application. We can work on different components simultaneously without stepping on each other's toes, which should improve overall development speed. It's those GitHub merge things that kills me, honestly. The isolated components can serve as living documentation, showcasing each component's usage and variations. This can aid collaboration between developers and should help maintain a consistent design language. That sounds good enough, I'd say. So I've been talking a lot about Storybook. Anyone here is familiar with Storybook? Ah, okay, well, it was launched in 2016 and it has over 82,000 GitHub stars and 1,800 contributors. They have a lot of features. And then Blazing Story is only about 2 years old, and they are also an open source tool with over 240 240 stars and 4 contributors. It's not that feature rich yet. So to install this, you can run the CLI command or select it from your NuGet package manager. Once you've installed it, we then have access to the template when you create your new project. So this sounds really cool. This is exciting, right? But let's see this in action. So I'm going to hop on over. So it's going to be a bit of screen mirroring and things, so just bear with me. So we just need some elevator music there, Todd. Yes. I'm just going to get my screens ready. Sorry about that. There we go. That's Blazing Story, the app running. What you see over here is a navigation bar on the left. At the moment, I have buttons, which is a component selected already. It's in the root of the navigation. Further down, I have it categorized. So we have, for example, lists, and underneath that, we have quick grid and table. So you can categorize your components too. Once you select a component, it will immediately hop on over to the docs page. You will then have a preview. You can see my mouse. You have a preview of that component. And then we have some documentation, which is properties that's defined that actually interact with your component down here. We use document code over here. There are a couple of standard controllers that Blazing Story offers us, things like text. So I can go over here and just change the text. I can change the color of my button, which is a color controller. So we can go here, just change that. And then we can have a look, we can approve a preview rather when the button is disabled. That's what it looks like when it's disabled and enabled. We then have a few templates for this component. That means the properties that's defined for this component has default values, and we then add templates for that so that you don't have to go every time and change the values for every property to get the look that you want to achieve. In this case, there's a default template, and here you can see just the stuff that I've done already, and this is an inactive view. So there we have the inactive, the disabled button toggled already. So that's interesting, right? But how does it work? How is it actually all stitched together? So let's have a look at the code. That is very big, but you're not going to miss a thing. So I'm going to start looking at the project file. So this is a Blazor WebAssembly app. They do support Blazor server. I have here, let me just scroll to the right here. Let me just scroll up. This is a .NET 8 app, and then we've got this generate document file toggled, so it's enabled. I then have references to my Blazing Story project, and then also just the normal Blazor quick read and WebAssembly stuff here. So let's explore the project. If we look at the www root, there's this iframe file, and basically this is our component view. That little block there that had the preview of our component, that's the one. And here they ask us kindly to please, if you have any, let me just minimize that completely. If we have any CSS or JavaScript files, to add them in this file. And that's exactly what I did here. I used the most famous Bootstrap CSS framework, as well as the icons, and you can add anything else that you want in here. You'll probably notice that I've got some custom CSS files too. The rest is just stock standard. So why can we not add anything to the index.html file? Oh, because they say so. It's a note right there. But it actually does nothing. I have tried. It really doesn't work if you put stuff in here. It's just basically for Blazing Story. So that's www. Let's hop on over now to the program.cs file. And this is also very stock standard. This is a WebAssembly app, and they just route us through to the app Razor file, which is wrapped in the Blazing Story app component. Over here, we specify the title of the app and the logo if you so want, and we can change the default layout of our app. So I'm just, oopsie, wrong button. Hop on over to the default layout file, and we can wrap our body tag now with a theme provider. So if there is a specific theme provider, this is the place you will go to introduce that to the app. Let's look at what else is there. There is this stock standard, I'd say. So we've got the components folder containing all of my components, and I have a stories folder containing stories, which is now becoming interesting because this is not standard, right? If we have a look at buttons, for example, I have my buttons. This is not so easy if it's this big. Yeah. So we've got this buttons component. Can I? Yeah, it's a little bit.
Everyone can see it pretty easily, right? Yeah. If it would be easier for you, then.
Yeah. Is it changing? I don't think it's changing. Oh, it's the wrong button.
Can't remember what it is on Mac, is it?
It's Control Option. Sorry, I'm reading the words, but it's just not going to the fingers. So we have components with buttons, and then we have story. And for every component, there is a story, which is then on that navigation bar you saw before. But I just found actually adding a new component might be easier to explain than going through an existing one. So let's do this. I've already added like a blank card example, and now I'm going to type out a component for us. No, I'm not. Tonight, I actually brought my book of spells, and I'm going to awaken the card. And so what this does is a stock standard bootstrap? Is it bootstrap? What is my CSS framework? But that's it. My class over here, I've got images set for the top. We've got a card body. This is very, very stock standard CSS for that. Now I'm going to add my story. So I'm going to hop on over here, go to my stories folder. Sorry, that was unnecessary. And we click on cards. And over here, the naming convention of these files is critical. So you have to have the same name as your component .stories.razor. Once you've done that correctly, we then go and call up my book of spells, because there's no way I was going to type this out tonight. And this is what my component, let me just fix that up, what the stories component will look like. On line 1, we have an attribute that says, hey, Blazing Story, in your navigation bar, I want to categorize this component in a cards folder, and I want to call it card example. So this is how it will be displayed in my navigation bar. This is stories, and it's all linked up to my card example component. And within this component, I have many stories, and this is where we start off with story. My story has a name. It's called default. It's a template, and it's based on card example. Any interactions happening on the front end is then passed through to this component. It will then refresh itself. Are you ready to see the final result? Let's see if I can reach it. How do I get there? Okay. Yeah, unfortunately, hot reload on Blazing Story is not working so well. It's something that they're working on. You'll notice when you go to their repo, there are guys working on it, but so unfortunately, it was not ready for tonight. So there's my card example. Pretty, right? So we've got my docs folder, but what really sucks is if I click on my template, you'll notice I don't have any properties. There's nothing defined. So this is pretty boring. So I'm going to hop on back to my, I'm just going to try and stop this thing. I should have checked if there was a, can I stop it now? Now I can, great. Okay.
You can go smaller if you need to.
Some more. Okay, control option, thank you. Is that, can you guys read that still? Great. Now I'm going to charm my card a bit. I need some more magic here because this is just not good. So I'm going to charm my card, and now there's a lot of things happening over here. You'll notice that my div is gone, my component is a bit longer. I'm no longer referencing static information, but rather dynamic information. So I'm now referencing properties within my component. Now this is interesting because background color is shared with, is pointing now to contain a background color. If I look at that actual component down here, it's a string. So how is that color controller going to work? I'll show you in a second. Good question. These are all my document, my code documentation, which is because I've got that generate document file toggled in my project. I have to add that in front of every properties, and the rest is really standard Blazor, right? So we've got parameter, we all understand that because we're very clever. So there we go. Now that I've zooshed up or charmed up my card component, I'm going to charm my stories component, because stories now needs to know about the changes that I've made. So I'm going to do this and call up charm story. And so what happened over here, line 1 is still the same, nothing changed there. I'm still pointing to my card example component, but over here I'm specifying all the properties that are actually colors. So I'm saying here we need the control type of color for those ones. Too easy, right? I've changed the name of my story from default to Juliet Quest. I've added some default values because there is no values anymore. I've changed that now, so now we have some values there. And I'm passing through colors, default colors for that specific story. So now, look at this magic. And there we go. There is my card all charmed up. And we have properties with documentation, and I can change my background color, and I can really go ahead and design and change my card as I want to. But what if I want more templates? How difficult is that if I wanted more templates? So if I go back here, I will just summon more stories. And all that happened here is now I've got a duplication of my stories component, each with their own heading, own values, and thing. It's really straightforward, I'm sure. So let's run this and look at all the different variations for my card story. I don't know why it's loading so long. This was not part of my magic. There we go. Well, that happened. So we've got the mysterious story. So I've got different looks and feels for my card, and then we've got Juliet's request. And here she's asking, oh, and look, we've got a button as well. So we do have a toggle here for a button to show and hide the button. And if I click on play anything, it will go and connect to Spotify, and there it's playing The Nowhere Man. We can say this is AI almost, if we want to. We can. But we'll add Playwright to this. So everyone ready for Playwright? Any questions on Blazing Story? It's really straightforward.
If you build all your components in another like CS programming package, can you then use Blazing Story?
Yeah.
Bring those components, have stories for those components?
You can reference other projects, yeah. I think it's libraries, yeah. You can definitely. I have to say that the documentation on the repo is really good. And that he talks about that. That's why my head went there. Okay, so now we're ready for Playwright. So I'm going to go back to, and then just continue. With Playwright. Okay. Who here has worked or heard of selenium? Yeah, I thought that. Yeah, it's so many people when I talk about Playwright, they go selenium, but now I'm talking about Playwright tonight. Selenium is older and obviously has a more user base than what Playwright has. But they're both, at the end of the day, the same tool. They test web application, end-to-end testing for web applications. There are a few things to note about Playwright. It supports all modern rendering engines, ensuring that we have comprehensive testing across different browsers. Tests can be run on Windows, Linux, Mac OS, both locally and as part of an automated build process in either headless or headed state. It integrates with the NUnit, MS Unit, but no XUnit, unfortunately. Oh, sucks. To implement Playwright after adding a test project, we need to add the Playwright package to our project by running this CLI command. We then need to build the project. That needs to unpack Playwright for us and create a Playwright PowerShell script for us, which is a key file for Playwright. The final step of the installation is then to install that Playwright script file, which will install all the necessary browsers it needs to actually perform all the tests. And Playwright has some amazing fun tools. We can trigger them by passing parameters when we execute the Playwright script. CodeGen, for example, assists us by generating code as we navigate the application. To use it, we execute the Playwright CodeGen command, followed by the URL. This will open up the web page with the Playwright inspector. As you interact with the page, CodeGen will record our actions and will generate our test codes for us accordingly. It's really cool. The Playwright inspector also assists us when we debug our tests. It spins up the web page with the Playwright inspector, indicating with a red dot where the location and action is going to be next. And it also navigates through the code for us step by step. The trace viewer can be used to view recorded tests. Once we set it up, we can record a test and view it in the Playwright show trace command, followed by the recorded trace file name. The trace viewer provides detailed information for investigating tests, including the test execution screencast and live snapshots, an action explorer, and then the test source. Pretty cool, right? But that's a lot of words, right? You want to see it in action, because I do want to see it in action. So let's do that. I just need to hop on over. Just have to. Okay. I'm going to close all tabs. I'm going to make this a bit smaller. Minimize. Let's look at the Playwright project. Okay. So I've got my project file open. Again, it's .NET 8. It says it's a test project. I have NUnit that I'm using in my project. I then have a reference to Playwright, and don't look at the rest. We're getting back to those later. But that's what's important for now, for Act 2 at least. Once we've got this test up and running, I have a blank test, right? So over here, we're going to call the Book of Spell and awaken test. This is very stock standard in unit test skeleton. We have text fixture. I've got my class name for my test that I'm going to run, and we are inheriting page test, which is actually from Playwright. That will give us access to everything that they offer us. And then I just have my test that we're going to run. But I'm very lazy, and I am not going to write tests out here, because that's why I have potions tonight. So when I tap this specific potion, what it's going to do is it's going to run Playwright script with CodeGen and my URL. And I'm still running my project, so this is not cheating. So if I go here and I run that, it spins up my website together with the Playwright inspector. The first thing to do when you jump with Playwright is to change your library. Mine is NUnit, but at least you can see all the other offerings. When I do that, you can immediately see what it's doing here in this. I'm going to make this one a bit bigger, maybe, just for 5 seconds. So here I've got, it's got the skeleton you've seen before that I showed you, and then it says, okay, page. Page is the browser or the current tab. It says, take this tab and go to this website, and there, that's what it did. It went to that docs folder over there. And now as I click through, when I click or hover over the application, it will show the locator for that specific object. So I'm going to click on card example, and we want to test our AI. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to go and click my play button. Now, I don't know if you've noticed, but as I click on the left hand side, it is updating all my clicks. It's registering and saying, hey, I found it, I found it, I found it, which is fantastic, right? So now I've got it. The one thing it doesn't do, which really sucks, is it doesn't copy the code here, because that's what we have to do. I have enough now, thank you very much. It can go away. I can now write my test. I'm going to go in here and I'm going to paste everything that it's given me, thank you. And it's very straightforward. We go to the page. It says, hey, get by role, the button, and which is named card example, and click on it. And then it goes to the next one. It says go to the request and click on that. And then I've got my frame locator, and it says, hey, I want you to click on that play anything button over here. The last two I don't need because there's no assertions. Nothing has actually been tested, right? So we still need to add our assertions to this page. Don't worry, we've got it covered. And I'm going to certify my test. So here I have just creating a variable for that specific spot, just so that my code at least reads a bit better. And I'm saying, okay, on that iframe, the moment you've clicked on it, make sure that that button is no longer attached. That's this line. Then I'm saying, okay, then ensure that we have the following text that's showing on the screen. You can use regex. You don't have to put in the whole sentence. And then we can say, all right, I now want you to have a look and see that we've got a button that says stop now. This is very simplistic, I do know, but at least, it's to get the idea. So now we can ready for my next potion, which is running this in debug mode. So I want to see now, is my test actually going to work? So I've got this potion, which is, am I out of time? No. All right. I'm going to tap my potion over here, and that's just going to run my test in debug mode, as you can see over there. And I'm giving it a filter, which is only that specific test. It then launches a browser, and it says, hey, I'm ready for you. I'm here on line 8. What do I do next? And it will navigate and simulate the user's interaction with the web page. Now notice as it's on line 12, it loads up and it shows with a red dot, this is where the locator is, this is where it's going to click. And off it goes. And it's going to click there next. And then it finds, hey, found the button. And then I'm saying, okay, check the text. Yes, it found the text. And now check for my stop button. And haha, my test passed, which is great in this example. But what if we are putting this as part of our CI/CD pipeline and we want eyes on a specific test? So we want to start recording our test and see what that's going to look like. I've got us covered there too. So we've got a book, and I'm going to bewitch my project. And over here I am using NUnit setup and tear down features that they have, which means before any test run, it's going to execute the setup method, which is this one here. And after every test, it's then going to run this tear down method. And so what they do, context is the current session. So it will say, take the current session. I want you to start tracing for me. The title for this trace is going to be my test name. I want you to record the screenshots, snapshots, and the sources. Once you're done, I want you to stop the trace and then save this in my work directory. So it will go to my bin folder. Add a folder, if it's not there, called Playwright Traces with my test name, .zip. And that's what it is. So now if I just run, I'm just going to run all because there's only one for now. I'm just going to run my test. Now this does take a while. I should have really thought about elevator music for now, but it should be done in a second. There we go. My test is successful. So what we want to see now, obviously, is our trace. We want to see what has been recorded. So that's where this potion is going to come in handy, which is my trace tonic potion. Once again, it goes and it executes my Playwright PowerScript file. I'm passing it the show trace command, And then I'm saying, hey, go look in the work folder. There's a folder called Playwright Traces, and there's the zip file, and yeah, zip file. And it will know what to do. So I'm going to click on Run, and there we go. What you see over here at the very top part is different sections of the app, and it will show as it actually progressed and loaded through. So I'm just hovering over here. I don't know if you can see at the top there the roll as it changes. So that's very useful. I can even click on different parts of the app, or actions, not app, the actions that was performed in my test. And I can see, okay, this is the action that it performed. So it shows me with a red dot. I can see what the test looked before it actually clicked on that specific dot and what it looked like after. So it actually shows you step by step what it's doing, the before and after steps. Very useful. And then if we look at we have metadata as well, so it tells us more about the browser and the width of the screen and everything else. I have some more information that could be very useful, some console logs. I didn't log this, it wasn't me. And then these are all the network calls that it made, and the source, the actual test source, and it shows you this step is this line 42. This is very useful, believe me, when you've got this in a pipeline and you need eyes. Yeah, this is very, very useful. And that was Playwright. Is everyone, any questions? How was that, everyone?
Would you recommend using the show trace instead of using the show report? Is it just like a lot better, or what are the major differences between those two?
That's a good question. I don't know. It's the answer. I need to look at that. Yeah, unfortunately, I don't know the answer.
So, is that in any way related to Blazing Story?
No, not at all. No.
Yeah, because the troubles that we face with Playwright is how to componentize that and make sure you're testing just the stuff that you want to test and not like the whole application, so that the components you click is exactly like that, that's separate. Because what we face is that different parts of the application can render differently, but we just want to make sure that this particular
Component
thing in the interface works, and other stuff, well, okay, it changed, but we don't care for this test.
Yeah.
Especially for the screenshot comparison stuff, this is like nightmare.
Yeah, I can imagine. Because at this stage now, what it's doing is we've got my iframe locator is for now, it's not looking at Blazing Story at all. So, because this is actually looking at Blazing Story, the complete app. So we've got the navigation bar and the properties down here. But because I'm only doing my assertions on this iframe, it's only looking at that piece. So that didn't work for you either?
We don't use iframes, but yeah.
No, not even iframes. What I'll do in the second with accessibility, I'm actually...
Let's talk about that later.
Yeah, because that's going to be interesting. Yeah, let's do that later. Okay, well, any other questions? Okay. I'm going to hop on back to my PowerPoint, if I can see the screen. Okay. The final act for me tonight, accessibility. Who here knows what A11Y stands for? Accessibility. It's a numeronym. Yeah, try and say that 11 times fast. A numeronym with 11 characters between A and Y, which is accessibility. Yeah, I also thought that's interesting. Yeah. So there are many different offerings and Chrome extensions that can assist us to ensure that our app is accessible. Soon you will find out why I've decided to focus on this specific tool. I'm not going to pronounce their name because I just cannot say it. I'm just going to refer to Axe. But Axe has a browser extension of 300,000 users, not bad. Once you install it, you will find it in DevTools. It may be hidden, but it is there. It's a pleasure. It offers subscriptions for additional features and advanced functionalities. but its core free function is to scan your page for accessibility issues. They evaluate acts. Acts evaluate web content, content against the AA Web Content Accessibility Guidelines, the AA level. So everyone knows the 3 levels? This is a test, you're failing the test. Okay. So A is the baseline accessibility that your web app needs to pass. AA is legally acceptable. Yeah, you can get fined if your app is not accessible. And AAA is the highest level of accessibility. And as you can see, we've got that little toggle there that says this is an AA level. Once the scan is performed, it returns a score that gives us more info on its findings and how you can actually fix them. And that's why I chose Axe, because they actually have a Playwright package, which is fantastic. We can now interface automate our tests, our accessibility tests as part of our Playwright test, which is fantastic. All we need to do is install the required packages. There are 2 of them. There we go, and that's the 2. This will grant us access to the run Axe method that will be on Playwright's page object, allowing us to pass customizations if we wanted to. So let's see this in action. All right. So give me a second. Okay. So when we started off here, let's just look at my project again. These are the 2 packages that I showed before that you need to install. So I have them already referenced in my project. I'm going to hop on over to my card example, and I'm going to actually add a new test for my accessibility. So I'm just going to go over here, call up my book of spells, and awaken test I've done before, summons Axe. So we've got summons Axe. It's Romeo and Juliet's accessibility test. This is all boring. We've done that now before. We all know what that means. This is a little bit interesting, and all that does is it says, okay, I want you to click on a specific button on Blazing Story, and it will pop up a new window, and that's all that does. It then says find this locator, which is an ID, and then assert that you actually found that frame, otherwise you must fail, and just run. So I just have to import my missing reference for run Axe. And that little line over line 77 will then look at my accessibility for that specific page 1 that it's selected then. So I'm going to go here and I'm going to tap this potion, which is going to be in debug mode. I'm going to step through my code, and it's opening the page. And it goes over to the request card, and it says, hey, now it went over to that new screen. I'll show you in a second. I wonder if I can do that. Over here, that's the button it clicked. So it just opened up a new tab with only the components, so we don't have any Blazing Story now as part of that. And then I'll just hop on back here. And now it's going to assess my accessibility of my card, and it will give me a result. Where is my result? Okay. So I don't know why. It's because I clicked around and I shouldn't have. Never deviate from the script. Okay. So here we have my results for it actually looks better if I run it the other debug way around. But anyway, it failed because I actually do have accessibility issues. It says here landmark 1, ensure that the document has a landmark, which I don't have. And it goes on and on and on about this. So if I run this in the old-fashioned debug mode quickly, now my time's running up. I'm going to put a breakpoint. Wait. Over here. This will be better. Apologies, I deviated from my script. So So here it's gonna run X on that page thing, and it says, hey, I found the following in the truth. These are all the values that's returned from X. So these are all the accessibility issues that it found, and it says, hey, you've got 3 violations over here. And that's basically what I'm testing, is I'm saying, hey, is there any violations on my page? And it will show me the different landmarks and headings, which is interesting. But I'm sure you're wondering, okay, so how does this now compare with my plugin, my Chrome plugin on my page? So let's go, did I stop my app? Let's just hop on over to my app. And I'm going to go here. I'm going to click on that button, and this is the Chrome plugin, right? And I'm going to just scan my full page, and here it's also returning 5 items. Here we have this thing called best practices, which is it's access methods that they've tested over time, which they say it should adhere to these rules. And then we've got the WCAG AA levels that our page has been tested upon. But let's say we don't care about their best practices stuff. We don't want that, so we just want it off. So then there's nothing. So there's not really on the AA level anything that we should be worried about. So how can I change my tests so that I can also toggle between those different tags? That's also what they call them as tags. So I'm just going to, let me just finish off my test. Okay. I'm going to opinionify. I'm sure it's a word. My tests over here. I will call up my book of spells. And I'm going to opinionify my test, which now added an X run object to my test. And over here I'm specifying different tags that I wanted to assess my accessibility against. So I've got here the WCAA level, so you can change that to only A level or AAA, whichever one you wish, and you can take that best practices away. We're then going to pass this options to my runX method, and voila. And soon we will see the result. And yes, violations has got 0. Return results, which is cool. This was so cool. Okay, so that's it for accessibility. I'm just going to hop on back to my presentation. And so, thank you. All the insights, thank you. All the insights I shared tonight is all very well documented on blogs that you can find on my LinkedIn profile, my Medium profile. I'm also on LinkedIn if you want to connect and chat about stuff. I've used Microsoft Designer for my images. It's really cool. They do a fantastic job. My card layout and everything was inspired by these guys, online tutorials, really great content. And thank you everyone for being here tonight. I really appreciate it. And I want to express big thank you to you guys. Honestly, your .NET user group and Telstra Purple, I think you guys are amazing. Huge fan. So I want to leave you with this quote. Almost done. But wait, there's more. With everything I shared with you tonight, there's a Shakespeare quote I thought will end this well for us. To be or not to be, that's the question. Whether it's nobler in the mind to suffer the slings and arrows of outrageous fortune, or take arms against a sea of trouble and by opposingly end them. There we go. Thank you.